Plus, get access to over 1,300 airport lounges and a $300 annual credit for bookings through Capital One Travel. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Find them for the holidays at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold. This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trips. And with a free phone at sign up, let the yes-tivities begin.
Alzheimer's disease is the 7th leading cause of death in our country. In 2022, more than 120,000 Americans died from the disease. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. For several decades, scientists have been puzzled by its origins and debilitating effects. The first described case was more than 100 years ago, in 1906, by German psychiatrist Alois Alzheimer. For years, he studied a 50-year-old female patient who was suffering from paranoia, confusion, and memory loss. While scientists have grasped a basic understanding of Alzheimer's disease, the most common type of dementia, many believe we've barely scratched the surface.
Alzheimer's disease affects the most complicated organ of the body, the brain. We know a lot about the brain, but there's a lot that we don't know about the brain. Our sensations, our impressions of ourselves, our personalities, our thoughts, our memories, consciousness itself, it's all dependent on the brain. And yet we know very little about the mechanisms of the brain that support these functions.
That's Dr. Robert Vassar, the scientific director of behavioral neurology at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine. He's also the director of the university's Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. Vassar believes there have been a lot of failures in clinical trials because scientists were treating at the wrong stage of the disease.
Once symptoms take over, memory symptoms and dementia, there is a substantial amount of damage to the brain, loss of neurons, and brain atrophy, particularly in regions of the brain that are important for memory, like the hippocampus. Now, once the neurons die, they can't come back. The problem for people that are already diagnosed, they already have damage, ongoing damage to the brain.
And explore the role of preventative treatment in clinical trial patients.
We've learned slowly that Alzheimer's disease takes many decades to manifest itself. And there's a very long period of time, maybe 10, 20, or 30 years, where the disease is brewing in the brain, and yet there are absolutely no symptoms. And the people having this going on in their brains are on the road to Alzheimer's, but they don't know it. In the past, the only way we could study Alzheimer's disease in people would be at the end of their lives, after they passed away, and we were permitted to do a brain autopsy. Now, in the last 10 years or so, we've had some very interesting developments in brain scanning. We are now able to see these pathologies, the amyloid pathology, occurring over time. The point is that we shouldn't now throw the baby out with the bathwater because, these are very well-developed amyloid drugs that really engage the target and remove amyloid from the brain. They do their job very well. We just need to know the appropriate stage of disease at which individuals can be treated. And so my argument would be go well before there are symptoms and before there's damage to the brain.
Dr. Carl Harrop is on the other side of the debate over amyloid and how Alzheimer's research has been tackled over the last few decades.
We have yet to create a mouse that gets anything resembling human Alzheimer's disease, and that's a big problem for us because it cuts the knees out from under any experimental attempt to try and find a treatment, a therapy, a cure.